Hello everyone, I hope everyone is having a fantastic Valentine's Day, since it is February the 14th, 2014, on the second month, which is February. So I'm hoping everyone is having a very fantastic, great Valentine's Day. For today, in the study of the Word, we are going to be talking about the plot to kill Jesus and about his crucifixion, which should be taught a lot, but most people don't talk about the crucifixion about Jesus anymore because how the what's going on today. So it should be talked about a lot. So I am going to start in chapter 26, and we're going to read chapter 26 and 27, and then it's going to be a part study. So this is going to be probably part one. Tomorrow's going to Saturday morning, probably around 6 a.m. is going to be part two, and there might be a part three, but I do not know yet. But we're going to be talking about. We're going to be reading the books about Matthew, Mark, Luke, about the crucifixion of Jesus, and we're going to be talking about that. And I believe it's going to be an awesome journey that we're going to be talking about this. And I believe we're going to have a great study about the crucifixion of Jesus. And the reason why I said Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, because Matthew, Mark, Luke, because they each say different stuff, but it talks about the same topic, but they have it worded different. And we're going to go through it and see how it is differently spoken and how different text that has been put into it, if anything was taken out, if anything was added into it, because mostly some of the books about Jesus' crucifixion is either something is taken out or some of it is even worded a lot better and given us more details about it. So we're going to go through that and look at that. So yesterday when I was doing the Bible study before I was doing this video, I was reading about Judas betraying Jesus and stuff, and there's some interesting things that have caught my eye yesterday, and I'd like to be going over that for today and stuff. And I believe that we're going to have a good study about the plot to kill Jesus and stuff, but tomorrow we're not going to be talking about that Jesus is going to be on the cross. Today we're not going to be talking about Jesus being on the cross. We're just going to be talking about Jesus being judged by people. We're not going to talk about Jesus being judged by Pate today. That's going to be tomorrow as well, but we're going to be talking about him being in front of the Sanhedrin. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I heard somebody say it today, and I had to keep that in my head, but I forgot. So we're going to talk about Jesus facing the Sanhedrin, and then we're going to talk about how Judas hung himself and killed himself and stuff like that. We're going to have a lot of good stuff. So we're going to start in Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to read all of 26, and we're going to start in chapter 27, 1 through 10. And I believe it's going to be good. So let's start on Matthew chapter 26, verse 1, and probably end on verse 13 if I don't stop. So we're going to be talking about the plot to kill Jesus. Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these things, that he said to his disciples, "You know that day after 2 days is the Passover, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified. You know," let's read verse 2 again. "You know that after 2 days is the Passover, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified." Verse 3. Then the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders of the people assembled at the palace at the high priest, who is called Caiaphas. Again, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but we're going to go on. And plotted to take Jesus by trickery and kill him. Trickery. I mean, they're going to trick him and kill him. But they said, "Not during the feast, lest there be an uproar among the people." And when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil, and she poured it on his head and set at the table. Excuse me. But when his disciples saw it, when the disciples seen that they were ignorant or intelligent, saying, "Why this waste? For this fragrant oil might have been sold for much and given to the poor." But when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not always have." Meaning that the poor is always going to be with them, but Jesus is not going to always be with them, since he's going to be crucified and he's going to die on the cross for our sins. He's not always going to be there for us. He's not going to be always there for them. So she actually had done a good thing for Jesus. But they were mad at the woman because they thought that because they wanted to use, they probably thought that they use that oil for something else, but the woman used it on Jesus, and they got mad at her because they thought that she wasted it. But Jesus was telling them that she did not waste it because she done something for good. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial after his crucifixion. Assuredly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done is told to be a memorial for her. Now we're going to be talking about Jesus. Okay, then this is where Judas betrays Jesus. This is where Judas was talking to the chief of priests and stuff, and they gave him money. 30 pieces of silver is about how much they gave him, and he got tempted into that, and he took it and stuff. And he took it because I guess he got tempted because of it, and then and so on and so forth. It gets better along as we go. And it says in verse 14, it says, Then one of the 12, called Judas, went to the chief priest and said, What are you willing to give me if I deliver him to you? And he counted out 30 pieces of silver. So from that time on, he sought the opportunity to betray him. Now on the first day of the feast, unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying to him, Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, Go into the city to a certain man, and say to him, The teacher says, My time is at hand, and I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. So the disciples did as Jesus had directed, and they prepared the Passover. When evening had come, he sat down with the 12, and they were eating. And he said, Assuredly, I tell you, one of you will betray me. Now, Judas is at the Passover, and he's sitting with them, and he just said out loud, Jesus said out loud that one of you will betray me that is sitting at this table. Let's read on to see who is the betrayer, because all the disciples are right now asking, saying, who is the betrayer? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be somebody else? Or who is it? We want to know. But Jesus is going to tell us who the betrayer is if we read on further. And then it said, and they were sorrowful, and each of them began to say to him, Lord, is it me, or is it I? He answered and said, He who dipped his hand with me in the dish will betray me. Underline that, because that we're gonna be looking in deeper context about that. So underline that. We're gonna be looking in deeper context about that tomorrow. So make sure you underline that verse. The Son of Man indeed, verse 24. The Son of Man indeed goes just as is written of him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, who is betraying him, answered and said, Rabbi, is it I? And Jesus said to him, You have said it. What made me think about that is like, why would Judas ask Jesus if it was him if he knew it was him? I guess it's because he probably don't want to look like he's not the only one who has not said anything, but we already know that Jesus done it, and he knows that he always done it, but it kind of baffled me, saying, why would he ask Jesus if he knew he has already done it? Well, I am guessing that he doesn't want to be like the person that has not said anything about, is it I, so he just said it to ask Jesus if it was him. That's probably what I think. I don't actually know. I bet nobody actually knows why he said that, but I would do some more studying on that, why he actually asked Jesus if it was him. And then now we're going to talk about the Lord's Supper, which is I love the Lord's Supper. I love that. I love reading about the Lord's Supper because he talks about breaking his bread, which is his body, and the praying of the blood, of the wine and blood stuff. And it's a very good. I like reading the Lord's Supper, and I'm very happy that I can read it again today. So let's read about the Lord's Supper. And it's chapter 6, verse 26. Chapter 26, verse 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed, and broke it, and gave it to the disciples, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. Then he took the cup, and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood for the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But now, before he died on the cross, they were living in the old covenant, or as the old law. But when Jesus died on the cross for us, it became the new covenant, or as the new law. Old Testament, old law, old covenant, New Testament, new law, and new law, and was New Testament, new law, but new covenant there, that's what I was lacking. New Testament, new law, and new covenant. That's what I was lacking. But, and it says right here in verse 29, it says, "But I say to you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it with you in my Father's kingdom." I mean, that's going to be this last time that he will ever drink wine until we be with him in heaven and have that wonderful feast in the kingdom of God. Which is it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to be with my Lord one day. I'm sorry that I'm taking the time. People text me, and it's like very important stuff. But I cannot wait to be up, Lord, with my Lord, and having singing for His praises and eating the feast and with Him in heaven. It's gonna be very exciting. I'm very excited about that. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then we're going to be in verse 31. Then Jesus said to them, "All of you will be made to stumble because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter answered and said to him, "Even if we all made to stumble because of you, I will never make to stumble." And Jesus said to him, "Assuredly I say to you that the night before the rooster crows, you will you deny me 3 times." Peter said to him, "Even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you." And so said all of the disciples. But for one, Peter cannot determine the future because he does not know what the future will be holding. We should just go on with our present, take one day at a time. Apparently he's taking many days at a time because he does not know what's going to happen in the future. We're going to be knowing that in verse 69 about if he holds his excuse me, if he holds his truth or not, if he holds his oath that he has. Then 36 it says, "Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane." Yeah, Gethsemane. I'm sorry, like I said, I cannot pronounce some of these words. I should have went through it and pronounced them before I could, but I didn't. And said to the disciples, "Sit here while I go and pray over there." Which means that he's going into the garden to pray. And he took with him Peter and 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful, deeply distressed. Then he said to them, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death." I mean, he's sorrowful about the death he's going to have. "Stay here and watch with me." He went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, "Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "What? Could you not watch 1 hour for 1 hour?" I mean, that could be mean that Jesus prayed for an hour. At the 42 is again the second time he went away and prayed, saying, "Oh my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done." And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. So he left them again and went away a third time, saying the same words. Then he came back to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is about to be delivered, or is being betrayed unto the hands of the sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." What he is saying at hand is mean that his betrayer is coming and is right there, probably is now just coming up the hill. Verse 47, "And while he was still speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude of swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now his betrayer had given them a sign, saying, 'Whoever I kiss, he is the one that sees him.'" So he has made up a little sign about them people always saying that whoever I kiss, I don't know where he kissed me, probably on the cheek, which probably they did kiss on the cheek. Whoever I kiss on the cheek, for example, he is the betrayer, and you arrest him and seize him, because that guy is the betrayer. He was trying to make a little secret code where probably he thought that Jesus would not know, but Jesus knew. So I don't know why he was trying to make a secret code or something, but that was pretty stupid of him, because he should know that Jesus would know that he did it. But apparently he just made a code, so. Immediately he went up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. But Jesus said to him, "Friend, why have you come?" And they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him, and suddenly one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. But Jesus said to him, "Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will be perished by the sword," which is the Bible. Because our sword is the Bible that we should use every day. If the devil is trying to beat us up, we could use our sword and beat the devil up with our weapon, which is the sword. Some people just try to defeat the devil with their own weapons. Sometimes we think we can weigh it out, but we can't weigh it out because we're only human. If we have a higher power, which we do have a higher power, and if we ask our Lord Jesus to help us, we could do anything. We could beat the devil in his place. Verse 53. "Oh, do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, who will provide me with more than the 12 legends of the angels? Then how could the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen thus?" In that hour Jesus said to the multitudes, "Have you come out as a robber with swords and clubs to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you did not seize me. But all this was done that the scripture of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. And now we're going to be in 57, where Jesus faces Saharaddin. I don't know why I can't repeat that word, but I pronounce that word, not repeat it, sorry, but excuse me, but pronounce that word, Saharaddin. And those who laid hold of Jesus led him away to there's that C word again, Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him at a distance at the high priest's courtyard, and he went and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests, the elders, and all the council sought false testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. Even though many false witnesses came forward, they found none. But at last 2 false witnesses came forward and said, "This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and build it in 3 days." And the high priest arose and said to him, "Do you answer nothing? What is it that these men testify against you?" But Jesus kept silent, and the high priest answered and said to him, I put you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are Christ, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, it is as you said. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power, and coming on the clouds of heaven. And the high priest tore his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. Blasphemy. What further need do we have witness? Look, we have heard his blasphemy. For one, he did not blaspheme because he's actually telling the truth. They just don't believe him, apparently. "What do you think?" they answered and said, "He is deserving, his sentencing is death, or he is deserving death." Deserving of death. Then they spat on his face and beat him, and others struck him with the palms of their hands, saying, "Prophesy to us, Christ, who is the one who struck you?" Which that is pretty sorry that they are beating Jesus up and saying to him, "Who said it? Who hit you? Who spit you? And who is making fun of you?" Which is pretty sad that they would do that to him, even though he is. I don't know why they do that, but the prophecy is being fulfilled at this time. So he had to do his mission, and I thank God that he did this for us. I'm getting way too ahead of myself, so we better go on. Now Peter sat outside in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him, saying, You also were with Jesus of Galilee." Now this is when people went up to Peter and asked him, saying that, "Are you with Jesus?" Or saying, "You with Jesus. You came with Jesus." And Peter was like, "No, I don't know who Jesus is. I don't know this man. I'm not with Jesus." Which is pretty sad that we would be ashamed that we are with Christ. Even like people today in school, people are scared to preach. People are scared. I am serious that people in school are like scared to say they are living for God because they are afraid of what other people think about them. They are afraid of what other people think about them. I need to start talking. People are afraid of what they're going to say about them. It's sad, but it's how people are these days. Like, I'm trying not to be afraid anymore, so I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and talk about God in school. Now Peter sat outside in the courtyard, and the servant girl came to him, saying, "You also with Jesus of Galilee." But he denied it before all of them, saying, "I do not know what you're saying. First deny." And when he had gone into the gateway, another girl saw him and said to him, "This fellow also was Jesus of Nazareth." But again he denied with an oath, "I do not know this man." And a little later, those who stood by came up and said to Peter, "Surely you are one of them, for your speech betrays you." Then he began to curse and swear, saying, "I do not know this man." And immediately a rooster crowed. And Peter remembered the words of the Lord, and said to him, before the rooster crows, you deny me 3 times." And so he went and wept bitterly. I would weep bitterly too, because if I know that I denied God in front of people, I would cry a lot. I'd be like Peter. I would be sad. Jesus handed over to Pilate. When morning came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people plotted against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had the bound, they led him and delivered to Pilate the governor. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing this is when Judas hangs himself. This we're going to stop at for tonight. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing that he had been condemned, he was remorseful and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying, "I have sinned by betraying the innocent blood." And they said, "What is that to us? You see to it." Then he threw down the pieces of silver down in the temple, and departed and went and hanged himself. But the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, "It is not lawful to put them into the treasure, because they were the price of blood." What that means is that them pieces of silver was used to get Jesus for death. So the blood is on the pieces of silver, not literally blood, but that money was used to kill somebody. So they weren't going to use that again. And they consolated together and brought them to the potter's field to bury strangers in it. And therefore that field has been called the field of blood to this day. The reason why I think it's called the field of blood is because they buried the silver in there, which was priced by blood. And they called that field the field of blood because the coins, you know what I'm trying to say, but of the blood. So they put it in there. Not little blood, but blood. Not literal blood. I hope y'all understand what I'm trying to say there. Not literal blood. Then it was fulfilled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, "And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of him was prized, when the children of Israel prized, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me." We're going to stop there for tonight on a study in the Word, and I hope that you like this study for tonight. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Jesus facing Pilate and taking the place by Barabbas. The soldiers marked Jesus the king on the cross. Jesus dies on the cross, and Jesus buried in Joseph's tomb. And then I think on Thursday at 7 p.m. we're going to talk about Jesus being raised from the dead and stuff like that, and some good stuff, and continuing on from there. So I hope that this broadcast was good for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see y'all tomorrow in the morning. God bless. Remember, tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. God bless. Have a good day. See you. God bless.